For the Budget Review Committee to order, it's Monday, October 26th, 2020 at 7 p.m. via teleconference. As chairman of the Budget Review Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we're providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-205-6099, and the meeting ID is 876-9762-9708, and the passcode is 670991. The public may also view the meeting via channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through the public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashva's website at www.nashvanh.gov and publicly noticed at the City Hall and the Nashua Public Library. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. We'll start the meeting by taking a roll call of attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Alderman O'Brien, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderwoman at Large, Shoshana Kelly.
I am here. You can clearly hear the baby with me, and I can hear everyone.
Alderman at Large, Michael O'Brien is present. I am here and I can hear myself. Alderman at Large, Laurie Wilshire. We saw her, Mr. Chairman. We'll get back to her.
Yeah, she may be having internet problems again.
Yes. Alderman Ernest Jetty.
I'm here. I can hear everyone very clearly, and I'm staying safer at home with my wife.
Alderman Jan Schmidt.
Present, and I am alone in the room.
Alderman at Large, Ben Clemens.
I am here and I can hear everyone, and the only person home with me is my wife.
And Chairman Alderman Richard A. Dowd.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear everyone. I am alone and I'm practicing social distancing in accordance with the governor's order. And I see that Alderman Wilshire has rejoined us. Would you?
Okay, the record so reflects Alderman Wilshire is present. Also in attendance is Aldermans Lou, Clee, Harriet Gathright, and Cleaver, and I hope that I got you all. Also in attendance is our Mayor James Donches, Kim Kleiner, and John Griffin, as well as National Police Department Chief Carignan and Deputy Chief Testaverde.
All right. So, first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone online that would like to provide public comment for anything that's being discussed this evening? Hearing and seeing no one. Communications?
There are none.
Unfinished business?
There is none.
New business resolutions?
Before us this evening is R-20-081, approving the cost items of a collective bargaining agreement between the National Board of Police Commissioners and the National Police Communication Employees NEPBA Local 125 IUPA of the AFL-CIO from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2023, and authorizing a related transfer of $186,145. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to recommend final passage by roll call.
Okay. So would you please call the roll? I guess we want to have communications first, so
Well,
Chief-
discussion, Mr. Chairman.
discussion. Yes, Chief, did you want to lead us off, or did you want to turn it over to Deputy Jim Testaverde?
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. I appreciate the opportunity. I'd just like to say I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Testaverde, who's done a lot of hard work for a long period of time on this contract. I want you all to know I fully support it. I think it's a great contract. It helps begin the process to assist City Hall in getting, they've made some considerable health benefits concessions, which I think will help the city moving forward. And I think it allows us to reset the clock a little bit and attract people that we can keep. So with that, I'll turn it over to Deputy Testaverde.
Deputy Testaverde, would you like to give us a lead in on this?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to take you through a couple of things and not take all night. I promise you. I know you've had a lot of very long meetings the past few months. A little historical background about our communications union. It's 21 civilian personnel when we're at full complement. 12 are known as communications technicians who answer the business line and the emergency 911 line that goes through Concord. There's also various paperwork aspects of that job, clerical, have to be very organized, but the meat and potatoes of it is answering those emergency calls, getting all the pertinent information and getting over to dispatch center. In dispatch, we have 9 civilians, 3 on days, 3 on second, and 3 on third shift. At any given time, there's 2 in the room with their rotations. They rotate like the officers rotate, 4 days on, 2 days off, which means that they get a full weekend off every 6 weeks. So it can be kind of a tough schedule, especially if you're pulling the second or third shift hours. Since 2010 to 2020, this collective bargaining union has increased their base salary 2%. I'm not talking about the employees that have gotten pre-negotiated raises through collective bargaining. I'm talking about the base salary for all incoming employees. What that has done is it has made it very, very difficult to be competitive with other agencies in the area. Since 2018, we have lost 13 members of communications, 2 to retirement, but the vast majority have been through leaving the agency for jobs that have better schedules and more pay. There's even been a few of the members that have left communications to seek out other positions within the agency. There's 2 individuals who are phenomenal at what they were doing, but they switched to the detective bureau to be administrative assistants just because while the pay was comparable, it was Monday through Friday, day shift, just a little bit better hours. What we did over the past probably 14 months or so is we looked at what our employees were making, and we tried to make an apples to apples comparison as much as possible. And if you'll allow me, I'm going to share a document with you. I do want to apologize. I shared this document with the mayor and with Alderman Dowd. Alderman Jetty called me earlier today and I shared it with him and Alderman Wilshire. When this meeting's over, I'm going to send it to the entire board. So you see what I'm talking about and you can see the numbers, but if you allow me to share this.
Okay.
Can you all see this document? I know I'm scrolling through, I'm trying to get to a specific page here. Could you all see that okay?
I can see it.
Okay, I'm going to assume everyone else can. At the top of this chart here is the Nashua Police Department. You see, this is the starting salary, hourly wage for communications, the $15.52, and for a dispatcher, $17.91. You see, last year, we went to over 85,000 calls for service. There's the population of Nashua. And we dispatched just for ourselves, just police. I made one comparison to NFR, and I'm not gonna, I think the world of NFR, I have some very, very good friends. The only reason I am not a big fan of comparing the two agencies, because I think so much of them, and I never want to create an adversarial system with another agency I respect so much. But the one aspect of both of our jobs that's probably, in my humble opinion, the closest between the two is dispatch. They take in information and they dispatch it to their firefighters who are going to emergency calls. They're updating it, they're taking the information, and we're doing this, and we're doing something very similar. I'll never claim it's identical, but it's two entities with our two agencies that's fairly similar. And that's the only reason I use them. They're another city entity that has a dispatch center. You see, as I go down this chart, there's 16, including NFI, there's 16 agencies I compared us to. Manchester Police and Lowell PD are the only two agencies that are larger than the Nashua Police Department. All the other agencies, as you see, Dover, Hudson, Hollis, you can read it yourself. I won't read it to you and insult you. But if you look at their calls to service, which is where my mouse is right now in the center, you're seeing that Nashua is doubling or even tripling the calls to service, yet their dispatchers doing roughly the same type of work are getting, in some cases, a significant increase in pay. So what we're looking to do is raise the rate for the starting salaries for the dispatch personnel. Pardon me, let me just scroll up here. Oh, okay, I'm gonna make you dizzy if I keep going up and down, so I know it's right. Here we go, sorry. For the communications technicians, we're looking to move the hourly rate to the 1827, which makes a yearly salary of roughly 38,000, and for dispatch 2307, which makes a yearly average of 48,000. Based on the research that we did, this would put us comparable to NFR, and again, it was only to keep close to another city entity that had a dispatch center with a similar size agency. And that's kind of where we got that figure. In no way, shape, or form am I here to say one entity over the other deserves more or less. I think you have the best police department and the best fire department in New England, and I would argue with anyone over that fact. I think this puts us on a good starting. I think this takes us a step in the right direction so that we will not only be able to recruit quality people, but it's the retention. We fortunately have some really, really good employees that have been here for over 20 years. But it's the vast majority out of those 13 people, 11 of the 13 that left didn't have even close to that amount of time on, and it's the retention. When we're losing a communications technician, one of our employees, to Tingsboro, Mass, just over the border, because she was making roughly about $13,000 a year more for a fraction of the calls to service. You see with Tingsboro, 26,000 compared to our 85,000. We know it's extreme when you look at the percentage breakdown. But one thing I really wanted, well, there's 2 points I really want to drive home with this collective bargaining unit, with the communications unit. If you set aside the year 2 restructuring, that's what we're looking to do. We're in the year 2, the year 1 of the contract has already passed. You'll see that the percentages we're talking about fall right in line, I believe, with what City Hall is basically looking for, especially with everything going on. So you're looking at, in year 1, which has passed, a 2% increase for about 2/3 of the employees, and the top 6 most senior employees getting a 2.5. Year 2 is the restructuring, which I know is the sticker shock, and that's why I'm going into this amount of detail. Year 3, 2/3 of the employees looking at a 1% increase, with 6 employees would be getting a 2.25. And in year 4, the entire union as a whole asking for a 2% increase and a 2% increase to the starting salaries. We realized the problem was we weren't increasing the starting salaries along with all the other raises that the union was receiving. So we came up with a game plan that as we move forward, occasionally every few years through collective bargaining negotiations, we want to put an increase into the starting salary so we avoid the problem that we have here today. So first of all, if you take the restructuring out of it in year 2, which the mayor was good enough to put money in contingency, and understood the problem when we had this conversation with him. The other thing I'd like to say is that this union wanted to show that they are, if the city goes forward with this, as I hope you would, that the union is very grateful. And I know that the mayor has made an emphasis on focusing on the insurance issues that the city is having. And this collective bargaining union has agreed to, I think, pretty drastically change their current language in their insurance. If you look at the summary chart, Article 16, you'll see that the HMO deductibles they're agreeing to changing are significantly drastic increases, going from a $500 deductible for a 2-person or family plan to a $3,000 deductible is pretty significant. Additionally, I believe we've said it before, but we've also, to help out the city and be part of the solution and not part of the problem, we've also made a strong push with all our employees to consider the high deductible health savings plan with the high savings account. And a vast majority of our employees have switched over this past year, and we're going to make another strong push at the open enrollment in May. So I did want to say this is not a all take and no give. This is, I believe, a fair contract to a group that has really been underpaid, for lack of a better term. I can't sugarcoat it any other way. You'll see out of the summary of changes, a lot of the other stuff are very, very minor, and some of them are just housekeeping items. With that, I will turn it over to you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Chief. Very detailed explanation. And yes, I want to give the mayor an opportunity to speak. Mayor, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, as the deputy explained, during the time when I was considering the budget and before I proposed it to the Board of Aldermen, I believe Deputy Testaverde and Chief Kerrigan came by and talked about the problem of the dispatchers and the fact that they had the very significant turnover that you just heard about. And also pointed out, and we were sitting at that big conference table that used to be there pre-COVID, and explained that when these positions were open and weren't being filled, the uniformed officers would have to fill in, and occasionally on overtime. And that, of course, this is not a good expenditure of funds. It's not a good expenditure of the time of the sworn officers, who we want on the street, and for obvious reasons. And so proposed that the salaries for the dispatchers be equalized with other similar employee groups so that we could get the kind of retention we need, get experienced dispatchers, and keep the officers on the street. To me, it seemed like a reasonable proposal, and therefore I'm asking you to approve the contract. But I would like to point out 2 significant things. First of all, there is the change in the healthcare plan design, very important for the city. You all will recall that we've been hit a couple of years in a row with a $3 million increase in healthcare costs. This will help to mitigate future increases. It also benefits, although deductibles do go up, it benefits employees as well. So both the city and the employees benefit in this respect. The so-called working rates, the amount that gets deducted from employees' pay, comes down as a result of the plan design changes that are incorporated in the contract. For the non-affiliated employees, it was around 10% immediately. So if you were contributing, say $100 a week, now it's $90 a week. You save $500 during the course of the year. So there are benefits for the employees as well. And as the deputy pointed out, except for the adjustment year where we kind of get things in place, the increases that are being agreed to are in the range of the cost of inflation. So for all those reasons, and I do appreciate that the department came in to discuss this issue. For the reasons that we both discussed already, I included and you approved, Mr. Chair, you approved the contingency amount in the budget, which I proposed and you approved. We put the money in the budget to make this to fund the second year of this contract, which is the current fiscal year, fiscal 21. So again, I believe that this is a reasonable proposal, will help us put officers on the street, will stop the turnover, and will, in the end, potentially save overtime costs.
Thank you, Mayor. You're all set?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Would anyone else like to comment or ask a question relative to the motion on the floor? Alderman Wiltshire.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to say, I'm going to support this contract. This is a group of people that are so important to the department. I mean, they're your first point of contact. When you call there, you need to depend on them, and what we're paying them, I don't blame them for not staying. I mean, the starting rate is, it's pitiful. So I appreciate that you brought this forward. Thank you.
Anyone else with questions or comments? Alderman Jettie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was in my first term as alderman, I was liaison to the police department, and I learned back then the problem that they were having retaining people that work in this department, as dispatchers or communication technicians, and that we were hiring people, training them, and then they would go to other places because they would be getting paid more, which you can't blame them for that. And at the time, I wondered why. At the same time, the issue of the fire, National Fire Rescue dispatchers came up, and I think I'm correct about this. The ambulance service agreed to use the fire department's dispatchers, and they agreed to pay the fire department some amount of money in exchange for the fire department's dispatchers handling the ambulance calls. And at the time, I wondered why aren't all of our dispatching functions handled, by one central department? I noticed in what Deputy Testaverde sent us, the comparison to other departments in the area. There are several departments that combine those functions. In fact, two of them, Hollis and Portsmouth, combine police, fire, emergency medical services, and the Department of Public Works, all into one centralized dispatching service. Bedford, Lebanon, and Lowell on that list combine police and fire. So it seems to me that centralizing this function, people, I may be oversimplifying, but it seems to me that if you've got people sitting in an office waiting for the phone to ring, the phone doesn't ring all the time, And if all of these calls were, came into one centralized office, it seems to me that we could, have, it would be an efficiency that could be achieved. So I put that out there. I support this. I'm going to support this contract because I think that the police dispatchers are underpaid, and the evidence of that is certainly the fact that we're having trouble retaining them, and it's certainly inefficient to have police officers performing this function. But for the future, I would really encourage the police department and the fire department to get together and have a centralized office. The money that's being paid by the ambulance service would still be coming in and would help pay for these people. And perhaps we could perform the function more efficiently and be able to pay all the people that work there an appropriate amount of money. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, that's something that's probably apart from this current contract. We got two separate unions, and I know that what I'll say in a second, that the training and the type of things that they dispatch and the types of activities are different, especially when you have the number of calls we have combined. Alderman O'Brien, did you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say that my colleague Alderman Jettie is not without, in common sense, some merit to bring up the concept. But one got to take a look at it. If it was, brought to bear as an idea here in the city of Nashua, it was done somewhere else. And that idea has been done in several locations. The big thing is, like I had the conversation earlier, when you're dealing with the public safety factor, there are apples and there are oranges. And depending upon the size of the community, if the community is small enough, a concept or having combined service, you can even do that. You can even dispatch. But the thing is, when you get into a city with the call volume that National Fire Rescue and NPD is doing, you get into something that would be too much. And the burden of dispatching the ambulance to Nashua Fire Rescue isn't really that much, because when you look at it, I can say that those are shared calls. Generally, many of the calls that the ambulance is going to, the first responders at Nashua Fire Rescue are already responding because of their proximity in the neighborhood. They also, NFR also, or via 911 in Concord, relays the information to NPD, and they also do respond. But there is a closer work proximity between as far as EMS and ALS, Advanced Life Support, with Nashua Fire Rescue. So I would be hesitant. I think the question at hand is approving this contract, and I know Alderman Jettie brought it up as a conceptual idea, perhaps in the future. But like I said, I think it's been tried in other communities, and I really cannot see the real true benefit of having that idea. The thing is, I know if we do have a fire, you're trying to get mutual aid apparatus into the city, you're on the phone calling, you may be trying to call back another crew, trying to stop a pending conflagration. And that's the same with the police department in their interagency and interoperability needs. So it's better to keep the two things focused. And keep in mind, we are starting with Mr. Mansfield to have an emergency interoperation center, but that's more for the radio transmission in case one facility does go down. We do have the capability, as a city of our size should, to have the interoperability to go to emergency backup. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else like to comment? I don't see anyone or hear. Alderman Jettie again? Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond that, yes, other places have looked at this and other places have adopted it. Lowell has a higher call volume than we do, and they combine police and fire. Portsmouth is not that much smaller than we are, and they combine police, fire, EMS, and Department of Public Works. I know that's not the subject of tonight's discussion, and I know we're talking about the union contract, which I support, but in the future, I think we should look at this.
Thank you, Alderman Jettie. Anyone else? Seeing no one? Did somebody want? No? Okay. The motion on the floor by Alderman O'Brien is to recommend final passage of 020-081, approving the cost items of a collective bargaining agreement between the National Board of Police Commissioners and the National Police Communication Employees, NEPBA, Local 126, IUPA, AFL-CIO, from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2023, and authorizing a related transfer of $186,145. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien votes yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries.
Okay. All right. New business ordinances.
There is none.
The items on the table, I've had no communication for anyone that's looking to bring those off the table. Of course, anybody can, but there'd be no one here to discuss them. So unless I hear something, we will move on to general discussion. Anyone? I just want to thank Deputy Chief Testaverde. He's done a lot of work with the unions and on this contract in particular, and I appreciate all the work that went into it and all the information provided. It's nice to have that on a contract, so we have all the information to deal with. So thank you both, Chief Kerrigan and Deputy Chief Testaverde. Okay. Public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak to public comment? Seeing and hearing no one, we don't need a non-public. Alderman O'Brien, motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn by roll call.
Okay, call the roll.
Thank you. Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien, the clerk votes yes. Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, 7 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries.
we're adjourned at 7:33 PM.